As a parent, you become hyper aware of things that could be harmful for your child. The desire to keep my kids safe is part of what has motivated me to pursue healthy living as a family. I try to minimize my family's exposure to harmful foods and environmental factors because I have learned just how harmful they can be, and I know that we can do without them. My guest on this week's podcast is Melannie Blandon. She has an incredible story of healing serious allergies with lifestyle and diet modifications. For her, seeing the dramatic difference that healthy food and non-toxic products made in her life really made her want to do what she could to keep her kids safe from those things that cause so much harm to her. It makes sense, right? She's become a passionate health advocate with a huge heart for helping moms understand all their options and choices for a natural and healthy pregnancy and birth. Did you know that 33%, which is about 1 in 3, women gave birth via cesarean section in 2022 versus 4.5% 60 years ago? Did you know that researchers found over 200 chemicals in the cord blood of newborns? It's facts like that make me realize the importance of doing what we can as parents to ensure our kiddos' health even before they are born. As Melannie and I discuss our decisions at such a crucial time impact health for us and our kids for many years to come. Welcome to the Daily Wellness Podcast, where you can learn about healthy living and be inspired to take the next step in your wellness journey. Hi, everyone. We have Melannie Blandon on this episode today. Melannie is someone that I met through Instagram, and I was just telling her she is one of those people that you see and you watch and you learn from and you just cheer them on from afar. I feel like we're kindred spirits that haven't really met until this moment. And so I'm just really excited to hear more of her story and help you guys get to know her because I've already learned so much from her. So let's get to it. Melannie, can you just kind of tell us a little bit about you and why you're so passionate about health and wellness?
Absolutely. So my name is Melannie. I currently live in Florida. I'm happily married and I have a little almost 2-year-old, which I think it's crazy. I can't even fathom the fact that she's almost 2. I've always gravitated towards a natural lifestyle, but I didn't really know what that meant until I had my own health issues. I think that most of us who get into this wellness space had or have our own health issues. And so personally, I suffered from really chronic allergies, and they were kind of taking over my life from early teenage years until late, not late 20s, but 20 years old. I would get really big inflamed red hives, and it would just be any time of the day. And I thought it was really it was normal. You go to the conventional doctor and they tell you, oh, there's really nothing you can do. Just take some topical cream medicine or some Benadryl, you'll be fine. And after a while, it was just getting very severe. And so I just felt desperate. I felt hopeless because I constantly was just, there's nothing you can do about it. So just deal with it. And then that's kind of that frustration led me to just taking matters into my own hands and just really diving into the research and just kind of figuring things on my own and seeing hey, this kind of tells me that this can create hives, or, it's just finding out the fact that what's in our food or what's in the products that we're using every day. And that's kind of just what led me into creating my own page. Empowered Mama's Tribe was born, and just help other families also know of the importance of just living a non-toxic lifestyle.
Yeah. So what are the main things that helped you recover?
Yeah. So one of the things that I didn't know is about all the toxins that were in our products, just laundry detergent, household cleaners, your typical plastics, BPA. It was I was just constantly bombarded with toxins, and I didn't know better. Even just the food, artificial food dyes, one of the things that it can cause is allergies and hives. And so once I started to just make the connection and the dots, it clicked me oh, this makes sense. And once I removed all those things, I've been able to say that I have had no allergies, and it's been 6 years So it's been awesome to know that I don't suffer from that anymore and it doesn't take over my life because it
Yeah,
sucks.
that's
It sucks.
amazing.
Thank you.
And I feel like that too it's like when you experience something so great, and so helpful, you're like, this could help so many other people. And it just
Absolutely.
like empowers you to share and to share your story and to share what you've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's time consuming to just bring information to people, And so I always kept it in mind to just like I want to do this and so families can spend more time with their families. So that was also a goal of mine.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you have a little one you mentioned, right?
Yes. And she's
Yeah.
been a blessing, a blessing. She's so cute and has a really strong personality, which I love.
So having gone through this journey of like really healing yourself and from a natural standpoint and developing whole new mindset around your own wellness, like what was that like going into pregnancy? Did that kind of change the way that you approached that?
Absolutely. Once I realized that most of the things that are sold on the shelf is not good for us, even though they're told it's FDA approved, it's fine, you're good to take it. It kind of just led me to question everything.
Mm.
And so it led me to look into more having like a holistic pregnancy and also having like a natural childbirth. And I also saw that within that, the maternity system was also very broken and it was failing us. Actually, like 50 years ago, it was about 5% of women who had C-sections. Now it's like 30 to 80% of women who are having cesareans. And I just want to say, like, of course, like every birth is beautiful and every birth is hard work. Natural birth is hard work. A cesarean is hard work. But it's also something that, as medical systems have improved and we have so much more technology, it's kind of alarming to see that we have kind of digressed and it's not helping us. So when I realized that it was 1 in 3 babies that are born via cesarean, it really just struck into me. It's just like, okay, I really need to make sure that I'm researching as well all the things that I can make sure my baby is born the healthiest way possible. And, I say that because delivery mode also affects the baby's microbiome, so if a baby is born cesarean, it's going to alter the baby microbiome. And so I wanted to make sure, of course, as well, that baby was born vaginally and she can be exposed to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just thinking like you had just gone through this journey of having all of these bad effects from products, everyday toxins, food dyes, all these allergy situations because of all these environmental factors. Mm-hmm. And now you're like, now I have this baby and I know what the bad effects of these things can be.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that probably would be really motivating to approach the pregnancy pretty mindfully.
Yes, absolutely. It was a really beautiful experience. And that also gave me the reminder to remind women that you are absolutely capable of having a natural birth. And I know that there's a lot of like stigma around natural birth, but it's very capable. And if that's something that you want to do with the right resources and the right application and knowledge, it's absolutely it's doable.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I had 3 births and 1 adoption. And my births really mirrored my progression in my health journey.
That's
my oldest is 16. So when she was born, even though I would say probably much like you, I had always been interested in natural living and things like that. But at that time, because a lot of people weren't talking about it, I was really talked out of what I wanted because I had a natural inclination to, see if I could birth my baby naturally and not have all the medications and things like that. And people kind of made fun of me for it. Like, you don't need to be a hero, like you don't, it's fine. Just take the medicine, and I didn't have anyone around me that I knew that was trying to approach childbirth more naturally. And so I really didn't know how to do that on my own without, kind of a community or education. And I was kind of made to feel silly for even thinking about it. And so that was the story with my first child. And then by the second, I was more knowledgeable. We were starting our health journey, and then by the third one, I knew what I wanted exactly, and I did what I wanted exactly. So I think this is just a really important conversation because I think there are probably a lot of women like me out there that have, they're in their intuition and their natural instincts are, they're thinking, I might want to do it this way, or this seems the best way for me. And they're kind of talked out of what they know to be right for them. I agree with you. Like, there's different situations that make, all the medical interventions necessary at times.
Absolutely.
And so I'm thankful for the opportunity to have that available when it's needed. But I do think it's gone to the extreme.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it takes away your almost your willpower and your curiosity to just see if this is something that it's fit for me. And so when you don't have that support and just people tell you, oh, it's fine, you don't need to, it's you don't get a trophy for it, it's very discouraging to the mother to hear that, and so that's why I always encourage women that if that's something that you're interested in, research, and then most importantly, talk with other like-minded women, hear other people's experiences, and you'll start to realize that it's not as scary as it seems. I feel like Hollywood is this really good thing of just having scary movies, and they're just their legs and they're just screaming and they're just ah.
Yeah.
It's just it's not a great picture. And I'm not saying birth can't be like that, but it doesn't send the right message to a mom who wants to become a mother or someone who's pregnant. So absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more in that sense.
Yeah. So when you say that the maternity systems have kind of, I can't remember the word that you used. What did you say?
They're kind of failing us.
Failing us. Yeah. Can you kind of tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, so the things are, okay, so when I start to dive into the research and then I look at what's going on, it doesn't correlate into why is it that so many women are having Pitocin or their pregnancy, they're getting towards their end of their pregnancy and they're told, hey, you need to just induce. And the problem with those things is that every intervention increases the likelihood of more interventions. And so a mom goes in to the doctor and they tell her, hey, you know what? Baby's fine. You're only 39 weeks. You don't need to wait any longer. Let's go ahead and start Pitocin. Well, the problem is the baby's not ready. And so it's going to stress the baby out. And then it's going to lead to more, baby mama needs more Pitocin. And it's just a cycle. Baby goes into the stress. And then it's on an emergency C-section, but it really wasn't. It was just the impatience of the doctor, And so picking your team is so important. And I always say having a doula present is highly, highly I recommend a doula. I had one for my own birth, and I actually had a natural hospital birth, and it was pretty well. I would I do it again? No. I think now that I have more knowledge about birth, etc., I would definitely try to have a home birth, but it's absolutely possible. And I think that if you're going to have a hospital birth, you should look into having a doula present because it will make the biggest difference. They can advocate for you, especially when you're in distress and you're just in your zone. You're just not in the mood to just talk about anything. You're just in the zone. So
yeah, that's definitely how I was. I had it all written down so that my doula and my husband knew exactly what I wanted. So if anybody asked a question, I'm just pointing to them. I'm not talking. Don't talk to me.
I agree. Absolutely. It's so important.
How would you recommend picking your team? You mentioned that. What are some things you would look for?
So if it all depends. If you're going to have a hospital birth and you're looking more towards having a natural one, I would absolutely encourage you look at the cesarean rate of the hospital, because that's going to tell you if they have either a high C-section rate, and you might be a part of that statistic. So that's something you should absolutely consider. And then I would also, if you're not a high risk pregnancy, I would go ahead with a midwife. The midwife is more natural minded, and I went with a midwife. I had no problems. I think that's something that to consider. And having just your support team, which is going to include your doula and whoever else is encouraging you, I speaking positive things. And also I would encourage take a childbirth class. So it's like those little things all make up like your birth team,
Yeah. And do you recommend kind of having a plan ahead of time of how things will go?
Absolutely. I think a birth plan, do it like mid pregnancy or however you feel comfortable. I think that is also highly important, because you don't want to go to the day of your day of labor and then you're going to be asked a bunch of questions, mind or spirit, to go into that at the moment. You're just you're in like, I'm sorry, not pregnancy, but you're going through labor, so that in itself needs its own attention.
Yeah That's great, planning it out ahead of time.
Being prepared.
Being prepared. What advice would you give to pregnant moms other than kind of researching and being prepared for the birth? Like, are there any other kind of health tips that you would have them that you would love to share, like, as far as kind of preparing their body and just being in the most healthy place that they can be?
Yeah, I would say that the most important thing is start removing like environmental toxins, and those things are from switching everyday products, from laundry detergent, household cleaners, the food that you're eating. Just always make sure that if you can, prioritize a whole food diet, and if possible, eat organic foods, because it's going to lower your pesticides. And we know that with research, it can travel to like the umbilical cord to the baby. So it's all like things to keep in mind. And more importantly, focus on stress. You don't want to be stressed out. And just practice gratitude. Make sure that your head is in a good space. And yeah, I think that's pretty much that's like my advice to them.
That's great advice. I read a statistic that I believe it was over 200. It was 200 and something chemicals that were found in the cord blood of newborns. So yeah, it is. I talk about that a lot when I talk about changing out your cleaning products, and house products, because we often see it as, this product sitting on a shelf that, is just kind of contained within the bottle. But it's not. It gets absorbed into us when we inhale the fumes, touches our skin, into our bloodstream in as quick as 26 seconds. And obviously, then that's going to pass to the baby. And so our babies are very vulnerable to the toxins that we are exposing ourselves to as mothers. And I wish that I had known that sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I always say, like, if you want to be a mom in the future, I would even encourage you to try to prepare your body, like preconception, like a year or two before you start trying, because we're just bombarded with so many toxins. And if you can just do it, it's a slow process of trying to switch everything from toxic to non-toxic. But it's just so important. It's so important for the health of your own and the importance of your family.
Yeah. Another thing that toxins do is affect our hormones. You mentioned BPA, which is obviously a hormone disruptor, but a lot of those other chemicals and phthalates and, fragrances and all of those things are affecting our hormones. And obviously there's a lot of hormones involved in pregnancy and postpartum time of your life.
Yeah, actually, like parabens actually can cause birth defects. So that's something that is just, the more you research, the more you realize, like, wow, this is something that I need to prioritize. It's very like important. And they harm reproductive health too. They cause reproductive toxicity. So it's really bad. Even just phthalates, they're used as a plastic, and they're even in synthetic fragrances. So fragrances are all around us. It was crazy, because the more I learned about how much, like the products that I needed to switch, fragrance was in everything.
It is.
It was just insane. And I didn't realize until obviously I was more informed, but fragrance is another one to eliminate. That's another one that I would say, try to get rid of fragrances.
Fragrance drives me crazy. It's just in everything. It's like in trash bags. I mean, it's not just cleaners and detergent.
No.
People are putting fragrance on trash bags. I saw paint. There was like an additive that you could add. Like if you're going to paint the walls in your house, you can buy this like fragrance additive to add to the paint so that the paint smells better. Like what?
I would have just a headache. Like now I walk down the laundry detergent and I can't even, I just get a headache just walking down.
I do too. It's crazy because when you clean out your body and then you get much more sensitive to it.
Yes, it's crazy. And the same thing with fragrances. They're also hormone disruptors. They're like linked to so many chronic health issues. And it's just get rid of them if you can.
Yeah, they're not necessary at all. Not necessary.
Have fragrances that we can use like essential oils if that's something that you like. But yeah, like there's actually even like it's called I think fragrance. I have a bunch on my Instagram where it's like good swaps. Like if you wanted like non-toxic air, like Febreze, let's say, there's one out there. So
yeah,
it's just
yeah, we are really fortunate. I think that there are some companies, definitely not all companies, but there are some companies that are really trying to do a good job with their products and trying to make alternatives. So if you're listening to this and you're like feeling overwhelmed with all the things that you need to switch out in your home, just know that there are some companies that do a really great job of, making things that are safe. And if you can find even a few companies and brands that you trust, it makes that process easier of switching things out in your home. Because I'm like, okay, I know this company makes good stuff. Like, what can I get from them? Yeah.
That most companies have a very good transparency. And so that's what I love about them. Because not everything, of course, that's going to say natural is good for you. When I started my journey, I realized like a lot of greenwashing was going on. But like you mentioned, there's a lot of companies that you can just like Branch Basics. I don't know if you've heard of them, but that's a really good company that makes everything from house cleaning to laundry detergent. And so it's a one-stop shop kind of for all your household or cleaning needs. And so I always recommend that to someone who's just a beginner. It's something maybe you can try out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I can look back at my pregnancy journeys, and I kind of mentioned already that for the first one, I really had no idea about toxins or natural birth or anything, even though I had these kind of thoughts in the back of my head, like I really didn't know much at all. And that pregnancy and postpartum time for me was my hardest. Like after I started getting myself healthier and then approached my childbirth from a more natural mindset, and I can definitely see like the difference as far as how healthy I was and how I was approaching that childbirth. Like my recovery was almost night and day different from my first to my third. Like it was so much better when I was in a healthier place myself and knew what I really wanted in my childbirth and just felt more confident, and spoke my mind and really asked for what I wanted. And it was, we didn't use medication, but it was more than that, kind of what we're talking about. I had really prepared my body ahead of time. My hormones were in a better place. I wasn't using a lot of those toxins. And so my body was just able to recover, not even just physically, but me mentally, and my hormone balance and my mood and all of those things that can be really hard postpartum were much easier for me. And I know that's not going to be the case for everyone. Everyone's story is unique, but for me, I really could tell a difference.
That's awesome. And that's really encouraging to hear for somebody who is maybe in the same shoes and they're looking for maybe a more natural route in birth. And I think it's something that is so important. It's absolutely so important to talk about. So I'm happy that you shared that with me.
Yeah, I want them to be encouraged as well, because I think it can be kind of hard just emotionally or mentally to wrap your mind around doing something differently, making changes, especially if you've already been through one birth. You're like, I'm not sure that I have like the confidence and the courage to do something differently. It really can be worth it. In my experience, it definitely was. What about for new moms who are in a place of kind of how we were like in the beginning of just kind of waking up to the idea of maybe I need to change some things out in my life so that I can be more healthy, like especially those new moms, because for me, it was really some things that were going on with my kids that helped me to start making changes for our family. I saw some health things going on with my kids of like, how can I help them? And we started like using some natural remedies for them. And that was really like the beginning of our health journey, So I think as moms, we start to kind of be really aware of things that are affecting our families. But that is kind of an overwhelming place to be, like, okay, so how many things do I need to switch out? Like how many changes do I need to make? Like, well, what if I don't know if my kid is going to eat healthy food? All the things, all the worries and concerns. Like, what would your advice to those new moms be like, or moms that are in that situation of wanting to start a lifestyle change?
Yeah, I would say give yourself grace. Like that's one of the first thing I would say, because looking back, it can get really overwhelming, and you don't want to be stressed out in that process, because of course chronic stress is not good for us. And so just take it one step at a time. As you, like, let's say you have something, and like, let's say laundry detergent, and then you want to switch it out for something non-toxic, you would just switch it out as you run out of things. But one of the things that I always say is just go back to the basics. Like I always say, first is prioritize whole foods, read your ingredient labels, limit stress, and then obviously eat clean, filter your water, and then get back to nature, ground, go outside and play. And then if that's something that's possible, obviously just stick more to natural medicines like elderberry syrup, magnesium, since most of us are deficient in magnesium, and it's something that is heavily important in the body processes. But trace minerals, if you are filtering your water, because you just don't want to drink straight water or tap water because it's lost its minerals. Even just things like raw cod liver oil, which is high in like vitamin A and D, which is very essential. Whole food vitamin C as well is really good to have in your your natural medicine cabinet. So it's just taking it, I would say, just one thing at a time, and making sure you're prioritizing the basics, which is food, how you're sleeping, your stress levels, and making sure you're getting back to like grounding or nature and being more like a child, like playful.
Yeah, that's great. And that doesn't seem that hard. Like, and it's not very even expensive to do those things, like it's not very expensive. It's not hard, like just little simple steps.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I have a guide that's free. And I always encourage people that if you're a beginner and you want to get into more of a low toxic or non-toxic lifestyle, it's on my bio and you can download it. And it's a very easy to read step-by-step guide. And it will tell you how you can approach that in a less overwhelming way. So if you want to, it's in the bio.
Yeah, I'll definitely link that in the bio. One other question that I just thought of, like going back to kind of coming up with your birth plan and preparing for childbirth. What if someone is in a situation where they feel like their provider really isn't listening to them, or, they have concerns that aren't being met? It's like, yeah. What would your advice be in that kind of situation?
I honestly would say to find a different provider. It's important. Like you need to feel seen, you need to feel heard. And at the end of the day, it's your birth and you have a lot more power than we are led to believe. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't feel supported, you need to find someone who supports you. And that's one of the biggest things that I would do. Find somebody that respects you. And so, yeah, if you need to, don't be afraid to switch providers.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little intimidating sometimes when you're in this kind of professional setting with someone who's supposed to have all the answers, and you have this contradictory perspective. But that is what I have found, that you need someone that respects you and understands that you are the one receiving the service. And so and it's your choice, if you want to receive certain services or not, right? It's your choice. You have the right to say yes or no.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would just also add, find a provider that has seen what's a natural birth look like, and that also will help you get better, like just be heard more, because they know birth entails. Most of us most doctors can't say that. They just medicalize birth, unfortunately. And so, of course, they're not going to be like, hey, you could do whatever you want. No, it just doesn't go well that way.
Yeah. It's hard to switch providers kind of at the end of a pregnancy, because some providers won't even really take you on. So if you're listening to this and you're early pregnant or planning to be pregnant, I would just encourage you to ask those questions early on. Like, ask those questions of your provider. This is my plan. Is this something that you're okay with? Have you done this before? All of those kinds of questions, just so that and they know, and you guys aren't surprised 8 months in.
It's a great point. It's just like, you just need to interview them and ask questions. That way you know who your provider is, and if you're gonna feel supported, because it's essential. Absolutely.
So a few questions for you before we wrap up. And my first one is, what healthy living resource would you recommend to someone that wants to start their health and wellness journey?
Yeah, one of my favorites when I first started, and I still use, is Environmental Working Group. I think that's a great one. It talks about all like toxin products, why they're bad for us, and then really good products and good swaps that you can just find there. And also Think Dirty app is a really good one that I like.
Yeah, I love those too, because it's hard to remember ingredients that you're supposed to know are good or bad for you.
Yeah, sometimes I can't even pronounce them. So
exactly. And I think both of those have apps as well, so you can get them as an app on your phone, but that's like takes so much pressure off of you when you're shopping, because you can just look it up.
That was my best friend when I first started, so I really recommend. Those are really great ones.
Yes, totally agree. What's one healthy snack that you like?
I love a homemade banana bread. I think you can't beat some banana bread.
That sounds good.
Yeah, but Jackson makes some chips that I really like. They have just sea salt, organic coconut oil, and sweet potatoes. They're really good, kettle cooked. It's really good and clean, so I indulge in that from time to time.
Yeah, it's nice to have a chip and not feel gross after you eat chips.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just have unnecessary dyes, artificial dyes.
And flavors and all the things. I saw the other day in the store, I think Lay's potato chips is coming out with like sandwich flavored chips now. It's like Cuban sandwich and like a BLT sandwich flavored chip. And it says like in pretty big, it even says like, flavored with natural and other flavors or something like that. Like, why do you want to eat that?
Actually, another thing that I would say, like moms or anyone listening, just stay away from things that just stay artificially flavored. You don't want that. And that's been heavily processed. So that's just not good. And then another thing that I did not mention is just staying away from inflammatory oils like canola, vegetable oils, just any of those bad oils. You just want to stick with coconut oil, grass-fed butter or ghee, and olive oil or avocado oil. Those are really good ones. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that real fast.
That's great. I love it. Throw it all in. And then last question is, who would you love to see as a guest on the Daily Wellness Podcast?
I would love to see Dr. Molly Hayes. I don't know if you follow her or if she follows you, but she has really great information regarding oral ties and like how it affects breastfeeding and mouth breathing. So it's just a really good I think a lot of people could benefit from learning about that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a whole nother topic we could have talked about. We didn't even talk about breastfeeding and all the benefits and
yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's just so much.
Yeah.
It's so much.
Well, what's been one of the greatest joys for you as a new mom?
Just watching her grow and being able to witness her personality and sharing moments with her. It's just been a joy. I love being her mom. I love being able to teach her, and I'm at this stage right now where she's babbling a lot. So I adore it. It's just the most cutest thing. She's really awesome.
That's awesome. Well, I love following your guys' family and your journey. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode on the Daily Wellness Podcast. We hope that you found it helpful for your own wellness journey. And if so, we'd love for you to leave a review. Then come back and listen for review shoutouts on upcoming episodes. For more information, check out the show notes and connect with us on our website, dailywellnesscommunity.com.